Evans, if you could mute your microphone for a moment.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
because it's background noise. I'll tell you when you can come back on. Okay. Okay, why is it not starting? Okay, here we go. Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again back to Indaba, Africa. This is Chris, and I'd like to welcome you in on today's live stream. This is the first of a scheduled series of live streams in which I'll bring in guest speakers on our program. Today's guest will be with us in just a moment. So let's go and get started here. I'm going to introduce our guest in just a moment. But today's topic is about small-scale farming and commercial farming in Ghana and West Africa in general, and the challenges associated with this application, and in particular with the advent of the Wuhan coronavirus or COVID-19. So our guest today, you can see his photograph there on the screen. This is Evans Larby. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Be It Farms, as in Be It. Evans is an enthusiastic young farmer who draws inspiration from an early introduction to farming as a family activity. He has nearly a decade of experience in small-scale and commercial farming. Evans sees himself as a farmer, a facilitator, a trainer, a marketer, an advocate for women and youth in agriculture, a project manager, and a local and Ghanaian foods ambassador. He has a great deal of confidence in that agriculture is Africa's solution to its employment and economic challenges. And so with that, we'll get started here in just a few moments with Evans. Evans Larby, the CEO of Be It Farms, going to bring him on in just a moment. But before we do that, let me set the stage a little bit. For those unfamiliar with Ghana, Ghana is located in West Africa, has a population of nearly 30 million today. That's up significantly from the independence era. Ghana is best known or well known for being the Black Star Republic, the first of Africa's former colonies to gain its independence from its colonial powers, that being in 1957 under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, the father of the Ghanaian nation, the modern Ghanaian nation. In 1962, the population was 7.1 million. And today it's nearly 30 million at 29.9 million or 29.8 million. Life expectancy in 1962 was 46.7 years. Today it's nearly 64 years. Significant improvement. School enrollment in 1971, which is the first year that figures were available, was just 64% of enrollment in primary and secondary school. Today it's at 100%, actually beyond that because you have some who repeat grades, but we have full enrollment in primary and secondary education in Ghana. Significant improvement. And recently, President Otto has made the school fees free and made schooling no charge, which is a wonderful development for Ghanaian children. Gross domestic product for Ghana in 1962 was just, now these are current dollars, today's dollars, adjusted, inflation-adjusted dollars, but in 1962 it was 1.383 billion. 1988 it had climbed to 5.2 billion. By 2002, Ghana's economy had reached $6 billion a year. But today, in 2018, that figure is more than 10 times as large in just 20 years. It has grown exponentially from $6 billion in 2002 to $65.5 billion in 2018. Quite a significant increase. Now, that sounds wonderful, but bear in mind the population has also quintupled itself from 7 to nearly 30 million people. It's a lot more mouths to feed, a lot more nappies to buy, a lot more housing to provide for people. And so the gross national income per capita for Ghana in 1962 was just $190 in today's dollars. $190, quite poor. By 1988, that had risen to $440. By 2002, it had declined as Ghana went in the wrong direction, back to $270 per individual. But today it's $2,130. Now, that is not a princely sum, but it is a significant improvement. And Ghana is making progress of late. It's known for cocoa production, among other things, large agricultural cocoa production, also for gold. Anglo Ashanti, which is a South African Ghanaian company that produces gold in Ghana, and also more recently for the Jubilee field off the coast of Ghana, which is now making Ghana an oil producer as well. So these are some of the more recent or some of the better known contributions. But agriculture plays a key role in Ghana's economy. And we're going to talk about that today with our guest in just a moment. All right, so that kind of sets the stage a little bit. We're going to talk about a lot of different issues here: land tenure, government support for farming, and the challenges young farmers face. So once again, our guest today is Evans Larby, and I'm going to ask Evans to come on now. Evans, can you unmute your Skype and turn your camera on there? Don't see him. There he is. There he is. Okay. All right. Let me get him on the screen there. I'll take his photo off. All right. And we'll take that flag of Ghana over here. We'll bring Evans on. All right, Evans, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
So,
It's good afternoon here in Ghana, and I
yeah.
know it's a morning in many parts of the world. So, good morning and good afternoon from Ghana. We are happy to be live today to talk about agriculture, and then we know agriculture play a key role in every economy, and then we Ghanaians are happy. We are also contributing massively to the agriculture sector, both in Africa and globally.
So how are you today? I see you've got your Wuhan coronavirus mask ready at the handy there.
Yes, I have it on because it is mandatory from the president that everyone should put on a face mask just for precautionary measures that have been laid out to us so that we can avoid infection and the spread of COVID-19.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. Okay. So let me talk to you a little bit about this, Evans. So you're a farm owner, correct?
Yes, please. I'm a
Uh,
full-time farmer.
All right,
Yeah.
and you own a farm. So the question of land tenure is something that comes up around the world when it comes to agriculture. So, for instance, in South Africa,
Yeah.
land is a big issue today, but a lot of folks outside Ghana and outside West Africa are unaware that land tenure is also a challenge in Ghana, and it's been a lingering issue. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges of land tenure?
Ye-
I think.
When we talk about the land tenure system, it's basically for the ownership is for the chiefs and then families. So individually acquiring land must go through ahead of time. You must have a chief linkage. You must have a family head before you can acquire a land. And then there has been a lot of land disputes around who the owner of the land is. So it has been very, very, very difficult for we as farmers to get access to land to farm. And so we are looking at a time is coming where the government can also take over because all the government land that we know are used for state farms. So we farmers are having ahead of time um, acquiring and accessing land to do our agriculture activities.
So, if I understand correctly, Evans, you're saying that not only is land tenure a challenge, establishing clear title to land, but also you have to compete with state-owned farms. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, exactly. It has been the biggest challenge for us. Yeah, exactly so.
So these are state-owned enterprises or parastatals, as we call them.
Yeah, these are single-owned enterprises, and then we have commercial, we have even family-owned, we have the state-owned too.
Okay. So South Africa is making a move, the African National Congress, to where they want to have. I think we lost your camera there, Evans. So South Africa is
Sorry.
making a move in which they would like to shift. There you go. Oh, now
Yeah.
you come back, but you're smaller. I'm going to have to make you larger. Just a moment. There we go.
Yeah.
So South
Okay.
Africa,
Good.
the African National Congress is looking at land redistribution at the moment. And one of the topics there is that the government is convinced that moving 1 million South Africans into farming, small scale farming, will solve its unemployment crisis. I'm of a different opinion, but you're a big advocate for the role of agriculture in Africa, as am I, but I think our approach is different. So can you tell me a little bit about what you think the future holds for agriculture and what impact it could have for Africa's economy?
Okay. I believe I'm very happy. People, the government, the private sector, they have come to realize that small-scale agriculture or farming is the key for transforming our Africa continent, transforming our economy. And so, what South Africa is doing is a good way. The states need to release the land for the youth to practice small-scale farming, which is we are in Ghana here. We smallholder farmers contribute 80% of the agricultural food production. We contribute most of the industrial raw materials for manufacturing and production. So that means we form a key role in transforming our economy. So once South Africa have taken the lead, the government is releasing lands for close to 1 million youths to enter into small scale farming. I think that's a major tool for employment for them. And I believe Ghana too, we are doing well in that kind of angle.
Well, thank you. So the reason I raise the question is that while South Africa and yourself are advocates for bringing a larger number of people to work on the farms, understandable given the employment situation in most of Africa, much of the world has gone in the opposite direction with improved technology. And so labor force in farming is greatly reduced. So for instance, the United States is 60, 70% of the labor force a century ago was engaged in agriculture. Today, it's less than 1%. But that's because we have large scale industrial farms. We also still have small scale farms, but most of them are large scale. So that's why I asked the question, why you see some hope there. But you do see it as a potential solution for employment, particularly in West Africa. So I should
yes,
make.
in
Sorry.
West Africa, after.
Go ahead.
In
Your connection's dropping off there.
By 20, by 2050,
Signal's fading out.
once population is increasing in Africa, and then in doing so, we believe that agriculture is a major tool for employment creation. And so, and then at a small scale level, we believe that small scale level can contribute about 70% to agriculture employment for the youth.
That's pretty significant. So we've got a couple comments are coming in from those tuning into the broadcast. Justin Goes talks about state land, state farms. He's not comfortable with that. So I think we should make the distinction here. There are state farms in Ghana, but your operation is not a state-owned operation. You began, I believe, as an NGO, registered NGO to start off, and now you're becoming a limited liability company. Is that correct? If so, please tell us a little bit about your experience.
That is correct. That is how I started. So I started as an NGO, and then later I did a sole proprietorship, and now it's a limited liability. Through it all, I did leasing of lands, and then I had some family owned land that the family itself gave to me to start, but now I have to give it back to because it's a family land. And so back to the question, land acquisition in Ghana for farming activity or agriculture activity is a major challenge. Why? Because where the land belongs to the owners of the land, it is very hard for a farmer like myself to own that land because most of the land are owned by chiefs, are owned by families, and the few ones that are owned by the states are used for state farming, which an individual like myself cannot own that land.
So what do you think, or do you suppose, is the reason that land tenure continues to be a lingering problem? I mean, Ghana has been an independent country since 1957, longer than either you or I have been alive. One would think that by now they could solve the land tenure, but clearly it's not. What do you think the reason is that it's not been resolved?
I think for 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 this discussion sake, I will say that it has been how Ghana was formed, how land ownership was started before colonization, before we had our independence. And so it has become a big challenge for the government to own land, for the private sector to also own land. But then the challenge must be the land reform laws. We need to pass a bill that ensure that land ownership is state owned or private entity. That bill has not been passed by our parliament as at now. So maybe I might use even this platform to the viewers. Anybody who have a say in our parliamentary affairs must make sure that that law, the land tenure system law, must be passed immediately so that farmers like myself, we can have access to land ownership in a more commercial way to produce more.
Now, some of the land that you manage, Evans, you actually own that land. You do have clear title to some of your farmland. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Most of the land are owned by family, and then I have to even lease from them. And then I'm trying to buy some of them from the chiefs because I believe that if I become a sole owner of the land, then I can use for more production. So some I'm in negotiation to buy them, others to at least from family and then friends.
Well, in fact, that was my next question I was going to get to is that where we've seen land reform be successful, like South Korea or Peru, for instance, Hernando de Soto's famous work on land reform, land tenure in Peru, once people have free, clear title to land, they can use it as collateral to get credit, to expand, to grow. Are you able to use your land as collateral to get loans, or is that a challenge with banks there?
Um, that is this is a very interesting question you just asked, because farmers in Ghana, it's only the commercial one, or when you have money to buy, then you know that you solely own. But a small scale farmer like myself, who have to lease the land from the landowner or the family or the chief, once you are going to the bank for credit, they want to make sure you, the farmer, you are the owner of the land, which is not so. So that means in terms of credit loan, the financial sector is also finding it very difficult to give us a credit loans to expand business, because they know that the farmers are not the owners of the land. So those land cannot be used as collateral or a security or safety tool for loan acquisition for credit and then financial assistance. So that has been a major challenge between the farmers and then the banking sector.
Yeah, we've touched on a topic that really is significant around the world. As I mentioned, in Peru, where they settled this and people had clear title to land, then even small scale farmers who used to be peasants could actually go to a bank and say, I have 10 hectares. I need money to purchase seed and fertilizer. Let me borrow money, and this is a collateral. And then the bank, if that leaves it on the burden on the person to repay it, but if they don't, the bank can repossess the land. Now, in Zimbabwe, they've reverted to a 99-year lease scheme, which several countries have done. And this makes it problematic for banks to recoup money. So it makes interest rates higher because people are more risky when they can get money, and it limits the number of people who can get it. And you're having the same problem in Ghana, I understand.
That is exactly so. That's the same problem we are also facing in Ghana, and then we are hoping there's an amendment or enforcement of law that clearly help us to avoid or solve this challenge, because it's a major challenge here in Ghana, I should say.
Well, Evans, Ben Lewis has asked a question here in the chat. He says, also, what incentive does a farmer have to develop a farm and erect infrastructure if he or she doesn't own it? So do you find it to, I mean, if you don't own the land, why would you want to build a stable or a stall or a silo to store grain? Is that not something that would dissuade you from investing in the farm?
Um, well, it will not be just because it is needed, and then as a farmer, I believe we need to do that, because what we are doing is needed, and then it's not a major challenge for us as farmers. Yeah.
Well, here's a question from Peter Cujo who says, what role does Minister Akoto have in the big picture, and how does his role affect you on a smaller scale?
Um, we have had a number of ministers, great ministers. Everyone is having its agenda or policy from the different opposition that have been in power so far, and then they are all doing their best. Our current minister is running a program called Planting for Food and Jobs, where I believe that uh, graduates or youth that are not employed have been given employment to start on a small scale. I believe that he can do more. What he can do is that he needs to cooperate and then leverage with this private sector like myself, to empower the youth and to encourage them to go into small scale farming. And then we need to also have ready market. That's another challenge that I believe he need to work on. A lot of the time, farmers, we had a big challenge of how we sell our produce. And then there are a lot of digital solutions that are on board. We are believing that the government will come on board and partner with the private sector to provide a digital solution that will help farmers to sell their produce on their farm direct to the ready buyer or the market, because aggregators always take advantage of our produce where they buy cheaply. So all the time in Ghana here, there is a misconception that farmers are poor, but we are not. We produce what people eat, and then we need to make good incomes and look after our families. And so I believe that the government needs to do more with the private sector and even us as small scale farmers to be able to expand our activity and do more.
Well, I think that's a good transition to talk to you about what sort of crops are you actually growing on your farmland?
Okay, so currently I'm doing maize, plantain. I have pineapple. I'm doing a snail project too. I have a bit of livestock, poultry, and then I'm beginning to expand to other crops areas. But then this is what I'm having at the moment.
Now, let me get that straight. Did I hear you say that you raise snails?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Are you a little French inside, perhaps?
Oh no, no, not at all. It has been something on the table. It has been something I've been working on for 2 years now, and I'm happy that this year it was just that the COVID just came
Yeah.
out of the blue. We never expected it, but then we are all praying and fighting. It goes away quickly so that we can do more businesses in terms of the livestock. But snails, wow, I love it, and then I'm happy farming snails now. You understand?
So would I be correct to assume that your snail market is largely an export market? Are you sending that overseas?
Yeah, I have a large market in US, in Canada, and part of the African countries. I have a large market for snail, and then I'll be exporting some even to US. Maybe when they open borders for us to for cargo to come in and out, I'll have a ready market that they are waiting for me for export, and I believe it's a good venture.
All right, so you're shipping snails to the United States. I'm not a fan of snails, so I'll have to wait to try your maize or something else. I'm not a big fan of snails, but
Trust me. You need to have one. Due to the nutritional value of snails, and then the way I do mine is 100% organic. And then, wow, when you try it, trust me, you're gonna love it. You'll be a lover of snails. Trust me on
Evans, people have been telling me the same thing about goat for 25 years, and I refuse to eat goat.
that. I believe a time will come. We are going to change that. We are going to change that record. It's going to change.
All right, perhaps we shall see. But okay, so now I've lost my train of thought. So yes, the one thing that gets a lot of attention when it comes to U.S. and Africa relations is something known as the Africa
Yeah.
Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA. Now, Ghana qualifies for AGOA, which in theory permits over 6,000 different articles and goods to be shipped from Ghana to the U.S. market duty free. Are you able to take advantage of that for your exports? You said you send snails here. Can you qualify for AGOA?
Yeah, moving forward or expanded export, yeah, I think it's a big advantage for me, and then I'll take. Right now, what I'm looking at is to able to expand production, and then get all the necessary export I need for export, and then I'm working hard on that. But then I know the demand market is high, so I need to expand production so that one. And then let me chip in this. Africa is also going to hold a free continental trade agreement in Ghana. It
Mhm.
should have started in March, but they are working on it. I don't know if they have announced it. So that the African setting to trading activity within the agriculture sector and the industrial sector is going to be free. That means we are going to be able to export more to other African countries, where those African countries can also extend their export to Europe, America, and other parts of the world. Trust me, America have been doing more wonderfully well to agriculture sector in terms of support, in terms of grant funding, in terms of technology. They are doing massively well, and we need them to more focus on the youth so that at least we can empower our youth, create more employment for them, and then increase production in the agriculture sector.
All right, so if I understood you correctly, you said that the U.S. government has been doing a lot in agriculture in Africa, at least in Ghana has been
Yeah.
your experience. Yeah, it's been my experience as well. Now, for the rest of the crowd, those tuned in listening to us who may not be familiar with it, what Evans is talking about is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is a continental-wide trade union that is supposed to eliminate trade barriers, tariffs, and things like that. Now, it's in its early stages. It has been ratified. There were 48 signatories. 22 had to ratify it. 22 have ratified and delivered their items to the African Union. So it is technically in effect. but practically it's only on a small scale at this stage. It will improve and expand over the next couple of years. But one of the big things not covered by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement at this stage is intellectual property protections and copyrights and trademarks. That is supposed to be presented to the African Union in January of 2021, before COVID-19. So we'll see if that continues or not. If it comes, we've lost your video again there, Evans. Oops, we've lost the call. Oh, there you are. Okay, so the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, intellectual property protections are supposed to come about next January. So hopefully that'll take place. For those who are watching, Evans can't see this because he's on Skype with me, but on the screen, those of you watching the stream, you'll see two photographs there. I believe that's Evans in a maize field. There's a picture of you with a cap. That is you, yes? Evans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what you can't see, Evans, is to the left of that is a photograph of me at about 15 or 16 years of age, kneeling down next to my Holstein calf on the farm, because I too was a farmer. So I just stuck that up so that a little contrast there.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I encourage you to do more, because farming, trust me, I believe that agriculture is the most important business in the world now. And then I will encourage everyone to go into agriculture for me.
Well, we've got a couple more questions here for you. So, Evan, so the first one was from Ben Lewis. He says, what are your yields and what type of soil rainfall do you have in Ghana? So is it a loamy soil? Is it clay? What sort of soil and kind of rainfall do you have?
For Ghana, we have been blessed that we have good soil, the loamy, the clay. And then what I do is that before I start any plantation, I go for soil testing to be able to know what goes on well there before I start. And so my yield has been so much improved because I go through the good farming practices. I make sure I send the soil for soil testing, know the moisture contents, know what is applicable to that soil before I even think about irrigation. So in Ghana, we have good soil for agriculture. Yeah.
Okay. Another thing here, your face is, if you could move your camera down slightly, because all we see is your eyes. Your nose is cut off. Can you adjust your phone? Just move it. Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh, you know what? It's not you, Evans. You're good. It's when the camera reset. It's on me. It's the moderator's error. So it's my. Here we go. What happened is when your camera reset, it reset on the screen. So there we go. You look fine. Okay, don't worry about it. You're good now. All right. So back to the topic at hand. Okay. So So now you employ people on your farm, don't you? What size is your labor force?
As for now, I have 150. 150.
150.
Yes, 150. And trust me, I did this training for them, and then I've been able to make sure they do the good practicing system. They know extension service delivery. They know. So my workers are well trained. Personally, I train them even on the field. So they are well equipped. They know what to do, when to do, and how to do it.
Okay. Now, did you get people who have agricultural training in secondary school or technical school, or are they just people that you train entirely?
Basically, some of them are trained in the basic school. They did agriculture. They have a bit of agriculture background.
Okay.
But then once you come to the field, to their other few things you need to be taught, and then that is how I select my workforce. I select them from the agriculture field. But then the others are not left behind. If you don't have any idea about agriculture, I can still train you to also work with us.
Okay, well, I think here's a really good question from Peter. Peter asked a question about food processing. Are you selling your goods as raw products, or do you sell them to a food processor who cans and bottles things? Is that industry busy in Ghana or no?
Yeah, it's very busy. Peter, thank you very much for that question. We farmers are faced with standardized prices on our goods. Um, you don't have a standard price for selling produce from the farm. And so what I do is that I have some ready market, some customers that they buy direct from me from the farm. So I have a timetable with them when produce are ready for harvest. I inform them, and sometimes it's a bit challenging in terms of the payment. But then, if the Ghana Standard Board, the Food and Agriculture can come together to have a standard price, a standard measure price for we in the maize, the rice, value chain, that means it's really going to help us because we don't have a standard price. So in between pricing and then sales, we have a bit of challenge in there all the time. But then we are doing our best. Some are not encouraging, but as farmers, we still need to feed, we still need to sell to people, even the raw materials to industry that do manufacturing. And but we don't have a standard price. It's a
When
big
you say
challenge.
you don't have a standard price, you're saying the government doesn't set the price. The market determines what the
Yeah,
price is.
yeah. The government
Okay.
does not.
All right. Well, actually, I'm in favor of that system. It sounds like you like the opposite, but so all right. So 150 people. That's not small scale. That's to me, that's a large operation. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So, what about government support for the farming sector? So, here in the United States, we have something known as the extension system. And each state that has this, they're responsible for that. So, when I was a young farmer in Ohio, we had an agricultural agent who worked for each county. And he was responsible for providing extension services, which helped farmers with certain information, access to government, things like that. And also, they had an informal role. We have something in the United States called 4-H, Heart, Hand, Health. It's a youth organization in which young kids participate in, mostly farmers, but not exclusively farmers. And the extension agent interacted very much with so we'd have club meetings and prepare for fairs and things like that. And the extension agents would be part of that. They also provide services to local farmers. Do you have an extension? I heard you mention extension a few minutes ago. Does the government provide extension agents that work with the farming sector?
Yeah, the government have been doing their best with extension service delivery, but trust me, one extension officer is to about 200 to 500 more farmers, and believe me, in terms of technology, in terms of digital services, they have not been doing well. So at Beat Farms, what I'm doing now currently is that I am training rural women and youth between the ages of 18 to 35 who are interested in providing digital solution, extension service delivery, information service delivery, financial payment delivery through the mobile money services. I have taken upon myself voluntarily to train youth and women in rural areas who are interested in those kind of field so that we can have private-led extension officers helping the government one. They work hand in hand. So I started somewhere last year before the outbreak. I've been able to train 200 youth, and then they have given certificate that they are in various communities and districts helping smallholder farmers, providing information service delivery, assisting them of data collection, assisting them with financial transactions and payment. And I believe that if, again, the government can partner a program like an initiative like what I'm doing, then we are going to be able to extend the extension service delivery to many, and then we are going to create employment in that kind of venture or value chain. So the government is doing the best, but then an extension service, one person to about 500, 200 plus farmers, how can the person go around and get the right data, the right information, and then also inform the person about extension delivery work? So I believe that a time has come for the government to also partner initiative like what I'm doing and others are doing so that we can extend the private or the extension delivery services.
So it sounds like, from your perspective, the government's ability to provide extension services is too limited. It's not able to meet the needs of the farmer.
The news, yes, it's
And
very
so,
limited at this.
so you're a person after my own heart. Rather than sit back and expect government to do everything for you, you've taken the initiative to fill in the gap to try to help out and fill that critical need.
Exactly. What I do is that I always don't wait on the government. I believe that the government is doing it best. The government will always be there, but as a private sector or a farmer like myself, I believe that I need to also come out with innovative initiative. I need to come out with initiative that help expand the agriculture sector, that help to create employment, that help to transform their livelihood at the rural level, so that we can be able to even reduce rural migration to the urban city, because a lot of the youth think the greener pasture is at the city, we need to come there. No, when we create those medium, small scale enterprises for the rural areas, then they are going to stay there, do good businesses in the agriculture sector, and remain there and get income that they need, not necessarily coming to the city where it is always congested and then nothing goes on here.
Well, Evans, you've touched on a topic that's critically important the world over, but especially so in Africa going forward between now and 2050, and that is the phenomenon of urbanization, of youth moving out of the rural areas and into the cities, because there's a lot more happening in the cities. Presumably, they can find something, but oftentimes those hopes are dashed, and life might be better back on the farm. It's interesting because I used to teach at Iowa State University in the 1990s in Iowa. And what had happened is that the state of Iowa in the Midwest United States, which is a farming state, had seen the writing on the wall, looking at the demographics of the state and realizing that most of their youth were leaving for major cities like Des Moines or Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, and that the counties, the rural counties, were being depopulated, and the average age was increasing. It just kept going up with people who are elderly. So what they thought they might be able to do, this was before people were on the World Wide Web. They thought that one way they could keep things going is that by connecting the counties. So back in the late 1980s and early 1990s, they started a fiber optic network. It was called the ICN, the Iowa Community Network. And basically what it did is it spread to every county and major settlement in the state a fiber optic network with high-speed data transmission, so that in the early 1990s, they were doing video teleconferencing and distance learning in Iowa. Quite far-reaching strategic vision. So that this phenomenon of urbanization is not new. It's certainly not new for Africa either, but it is a challenge in keeping folks back on the farm or coming back to the farm. For instance, I lived in all circumstances when I was a child, but I grew up on a farm, as you know, for a period of time, and I'm not living on a farm now. So I'm not quite urbanized. I'm peri-urbanized, but anyway, so that is a challenge. Well, what about credit? We talked a little bit about credit, but does the government have grant or loan facilities to help farmers? And if so, how do you get access to that in Ghana? You're shaking your head. I think the answer is no.
I've been a farmer for 10 years in Ghana. I've never gotten a penny of credit from the government. I can't say I am wrong. Other farmers like myself have been complaining. There have been sometimes budget allocation to the agricultural sector, to farmers, to smallholder farmers like myself and others. Last year, I did capacity building training, and I was able to touch 8,000 plus farmers, where 80% of them are women and youth. I've been to almost all the regions in Ghana. I did this voluntarily. Sometimes I have to even sell a property just to get the necessary materials and the team ready for us to go. And then I trust me, I send messages and mails to government for their assistance and support in organizing this kind of capacity building, but I never heard from them. I believe that in terms of credit, the government and the private sector are not doing well with farmers. I must say, I am saying it on authority that they are not doing well in terms of credit and loan for farmers. I believe that another challenge that they are having is that farmers are not well organized. So one thing I'm doing that as I'm going around organizing my capacity building, I'm putting smallholder farmers in a well organized group where we can have a digital information about their activity, size of land, the crop they are cultivating, their age, all the detailed information that you need from a farmer, where they are cooperative and make sure they are registered, and then they are giving certificate as a cooperative. Once this is a strong cooperative, I encourage them to do a little contribution monthly, 5 Ghana cedi, that collectively we can put in a strong financial institution and leverage over it to get agro input, mechanization services, and other services that the farmers may need. And so far, it is going very, very well in terms of that initiative that I brought to the farmers.
Well, that's not the most encouraging news when you think that agriculture may be an answer for Accra, for Ghana, if the government's not more actively involved and they have not enough extension agents. So perhaps they need to take a little different view on their strategic vision for agriculture in Ghana. That may be a fair argument. So let me ask this question. So here in the United States, those who grow up on a farm oftentimes become farmers themselves. And many in high school and those here in the States who've experienced this know what I'm talking about. We have things, as I mentioned, 4-H, which is a private organization for kids to get involved, a club organization. But we also have something in high schools called Future Farmers America, or FFA. And FFA is another club organization, a national one, in which young teenage children who are on the path to become farmers learn about farming. They do things together. They build social networks and professional networks. And then this is something that's always disturbed me when you hear people like the former candidate for president here, Michael Bloomberg, derisively talk about agriculture. Well, it's just farming. You stick a seed in the ground, you put water in it, and it grows. Very, very dismissive from an arrogant, haughty individual who knows nothing about producing food so that humans can survive. You know as well as I do that a lot of professional farmers, particularly here in Europe or in the United States, Europe, North America, Japan, Asia, professional farmers attend vocational schools and or universities. I know many farmers who have university degrees and even advanced degrees. You have degrees in agronomy, agriculture, chemistry, things like that. So how does it work in Ghana? Is there an educational system to support farming, or is it just individuals like yourself? In other words, I mean, do you have some sort of organization that is nationwide or local for youth? And then beyond that, do you have vocational schools? Do you have agricultural programs at university, or is that all missing?
In terms of agriculture, there are a lot of agriculture colleges in Ghana that provide individuals with agriculture training. We have even in our university, the University of Ghana, they do a lot of agriculture degree programs that they are running, and then I believe it's a good way. But back again, what happens to all the graduates? What happens to all the trainees at the various agriculture colleges and then training centers? They are still unemployed. And I ask myself, why do they go there? They go there for the certificate to be what? It's a major challenge. I have a lot of graduates from the agriculture sector that they don't have work. And I believe, what are you doing? So they are trained, but still they don't have work. And I don't know the challenge they are facing. You can't finish school and say if you are in the agriculture sector there's no work. There are a lot of opportunities. The value chain is very, very, very long, from pre-production, from production to even marketing. The whole value chain is long. It's just that we need to empower them. As for the training centers, there are a lot of training centers. They are doing good programs for the agriculture sector. But once the graduates are out, they don't find employment, and that is a big of challenge that I always find with them.
So it
But
sounds
truly,
like
there are a lot of agriculture.
sounds like there might be three things at play
Yeah, come
here.
again.
You're saying that there's education, but then people aren't entering the agricultural workforce. So some of those challenges might be the fact that there's difficulty getting land tenure, as you discussed, because it's difficult to get control of land. Another might be access to credit to get started. And then the third might just be ambition or desire. You have to have ambition and desire, which it seems you have, but perhaps some of your peers may not have.
That is very true. I believe that you just mentioned, in terms of credit and land, I believe that the state is owing a lot of um, state farms. Some of them have been left 15 years. Nothing is going on. I've personally taken upon myself to visit all the state farms. And when you go there to see what's going on there, I believe, where does the budget allocation for agriculture goes to? These state farms can be um, uh, it can be really finished. It can be done to suit modern agriculture, where graduates from the various agriculture colleges and universities can go there for practicals. The state must also make sure they can be able to provide at least not even half an acre land to all graduates that finishes the colleges and other stuff to practice farming on that land, that can be used as a score for their national service or before they go for graduation. But then if all these practices are not put in place, then the person becomes just book loaded. And then if the person is not having the land to practice what is in the head, then the person stays home and become unemployed. I am I am using this medium to appeal to the government that a time has come for them to join the private sector, like myself and others who are doing well in the agriculture sector, that the state-owned farm, the state of it now is not encouraging. They need to pay much attention to it. If they are not able to do it alone, we, the private sector, we are ready to partner with them and then manage the state-owned farms well, where graduates and other people from the agriculture colleges, when they graduate, they can come there and work and expand production and transform our economy. This is
So
something on my heart.
I can see that you seem passionate about it. So let me ask this question. In much of the world, many countries, we have things like farmers' unions or farmers' associations, co-ops, things like that. So for instance, in Zimbabwe, they have the Commercial Farmers Union, which was responsible for advocating for the farming sector and sharing information and that sort of thing. Do you have farmers' unions or co-ops or things like that that can advocate for you in Ghana?
Yeah, there are a lot of farmers union associations and cooperatives in Ghana. Some are doing well, and then we need to encourage those that they are doing well. There are a lot of association on them, but then the the activities of the association or the management of the association has not been much encouraging, and all bounce back to the fact that they will say we don't have money, we don't have input supply, subsidies from government too are sometimes expensive, and then we are not getting credit from the banks and other things. It has been a bit of challenge, but they are more union, but the efficiency and then the stableness of those cooperatives is another question or topic to talk about.
So I've got a couple more questions here before we finally get to the COVID-19 crisis and the impact before we get there. But so Peter asked a question about here in the US, we have the Food and Drug Administration, which puts regulations on food production and distribution, that sort of thing, and regulate. We have US Department of Agriculture, which also does a similar thing. Both of them have impact on farm products. Do you have similar agencies in Ghana? And if so, what are the names of them?
Okay. We have the Food and Drugs Board in Ghana. We have the Ghana Standard Authority. We have the Commodity Exchange. We have a lot of agencies. Peter, that's another good question. When we talk about drugs and then the regulating food, I think the Food and Drugs Board, they are doing very well in that sector. But again, we need to find a way to stop the use of plastics. We stop the use of harmful chemicals for our food preservation, storage, and even planting. You go to the market and you see a fresh vegetable, and then the next day it is rotting. Like I said to myself, what happened? But then you follow up and you see that the chemicals applied to maybe the fertilizer or whatever is applied is very harmful. A time has come that the food and driver need to regulate and check chemicals that comes in to support our agriculture sector. What are the benefits, and then what are the harms that will cause to our agri product? Because tons and tons of vegetables are always being thrown away, and I believe that the cause is the chemicals they apply for maybe harvesting, preservation, or others. It's not encouraging. So I think they must do more on that. They need to regulate those chemicals and then make sure we get a healthy vegetable on the market.
All right, well, let me ask this question. This is once again about the government, but society as well, but primarily about the government. What about infrastructure? Do you have the infrastructure that's necessary in place to support farmers? Now, before you answer that question, your farm holdings are in the northeast part of the country, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so you're kind of far from Accra. It's not like an
Yeah.
hour drive, it's much further than that. All right, so when I talk about infrastructure, of course, reliable electricity, you need that. The condition of roads or sufficient roads, port facilities. Does the infrastructure in your part of Ghana help or hinder your farming?
That's a very, very interesting question. Infrastructure. or infrastructures, let me say storage facility, warehouses, both dry and cold, it is the biggest challenge farmers like myself are facing. Before even access to our farms, the road are not constructed, so people don't really want to even come there. So infrastructures is a major challenge. I don't know since independent or since we have not had an adequate storage facilities, both within the district, the regional, and then even the national, to store our produce. And so we have to always farmers have to rely on ready aggregators who sometimes, because we need to sell, get money, pay our credit, go back again to start our farming. And so we always depend on aggregators. And then post-harvest losses has been occurring yearly. Yearly, we have a lot of post-harvest losses because we don't have those facilities. Again, we can't depend only on the government to provide us with the facilities. Corporate union groups, farmers group, we need to come together as one unit and also fight to get all these facilities done, because without it, I am not sure we'll be able to store more at the buffer shop and then even export produce.
Well, this is one of the areas that I frequently advise people. You know, a lot of people don't think very creatively, in my view, particularly when it comes to Africa. So they look at Africa and say, oh, no infrastructure. Well, one thing I do like about China is that they go, no infrastructure? Well, fine, let us build it then. We'll be happy to build the infrastructure. What I mean by that is that here in the US, instead of thinking, gosh, where can I manufacture my iPods or who is going to buy my Ford trucks? You know, those who are creative might be saying, you know, in Ghana, I could build cold storage facilities and or silos to store things and charge a small fee to local producers so that their food doesn't rot and they can get it to market. And there's a market, there's a business right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a big business, and people are not really even paying much attention to that. I am hoping that investors and the private sector people will look that at that angle. There's a big gap in that angle in terms of a storage facility in Ghana as at now. There's a big market space for that. That anyone who venture into uh, putting up storage facilities for farmers, trust me, it's a big business in Ghana.
Well, let me switch to now the topic at hand. We've spent a good part of the hour talking about your challenges, what the conditions are for farming in Ghana on a small scale, land tenure and such. So, what about the Wuhan coronavirus that came out of the blue? It's a black swan event, an unexpected event. Now, before you answer that, let's fade back to 2013, 2014 with the Mono River region Ebola outbreak. Now, Ghana sits very close, right there near the Mono River region, yet Ghana was able to, by and large, escape the impact of Ebola. Nigeria was touched by it briefly because of the contacts by flight between Nigeria and Liberia, but Ghana largely avoided it. But this is a different situation. I imagine that it's been quite a challenge. And what has been the impact on your ability to farm? Because here in the U.S., for instance, in Idaho, we're going to have a shortage of French fries all over America because the potatoes are rotting in the field because they couldn't harvest them. So what have been the impacts for you in Ghana?
So far, I believe the impact is not encouraging to us as farmers, because um, trust me, when the president announced the lockdown, uh, people have to stay home, and they still need to be fed. Who are those going to produce what they will eat? Farmers. What was stored got finished within a week, because every day people are requesting for food. And then it comes back to us. It puts enormous pressure on the farmer to go back to the farm, find a way to go back to the farm and start planting. I It is a big challenge in terms of production, in terms of labor, because a lot of the farmers are now even scared now to go to their farm and start planting. Those that they have started to will not be able to go there and take care of it, with the fear of being infected with COVID. And so it is slowly affecting our agriculture production gradually. And then we are going to have serious food shortage and supply in few months to come if farmers don't start planting. we can't depend on the buffer. It's not enough to feed 30 million people, and then part of Africa where we export most of our commodities to. And so the impact has been very, very bad on agriculture, and it is still doing. We are praying that we find a way to still get back to our farm and produce more, store more, and even export more after COVID-19. But so far, it's not encouraging at all.
Well, that's not happy news to hear at all. I'm sorry to hear that. But we know, and I imagine most people tuning into the broadcast right now are well aware that farming is not like a factory. If you have the raw materials and the workers trained in the factory, you can stop production, then come back. Most factories, not all factories, and you can resume production, and you can make an iPod tomorrow, and you'll have it. But if you don't prepare the soil, you don't plant the seeds, you don't get rainfall, you don't harvest it, you're not going to have maize tomorrow, you're not going to have tobacco tomorrow, you're not going to have rice tomorrow. It takes a lot of inputs and effort. And so, a lot of people lose sight of the fact that farming is not a seasonal activity. You may have harvest season at a particular time, but you're working 7 days a week, every day of the year. And you have a cycle of things you must do, correct?
Yes. It's a lot of things to put in place before you even start planting maize. And for me to add this,
Yes.
at Be It, what I've done now is that because I know as a farmer there are going to be a shortage of food supply and even labor, I've put together to help my smallholder farmers a food crisis management fund, where I'm appealing to government, other state agencies, other agriculture organization to at least assist smallholder farmers like myself. We have over 50 plus smallholder farmers, as I'm talking, in the
Mhm.
northern part of Ghana that are in urgent need of agro input to start planting. Talking about improved seed, fertilizers, and simple basic farming machineries. They are not getting it. And so, what do I do as a smallholder farmer? I keep getting calls all over that they need those assistance. And then they even need education on precautionary measures that they have to follow. I'm doing a campaign on that. They need some of the PPEs to wear for protection. It's not coming. I always see on the news that other international organizations have given our agriculture sector this amount of money. But the big question is, I might be wrong, but the big question is, where does those money get to? I'm an ordinary farmer. Those money don't get to an ordinary farmer like myself. Where does those support get to? We, the farmers, we need it, and we need it now, so that we can be able to get back to our farms, start planting, and have good harvest to be able to feed our growing population after this COVID-19 or even during it, because we don't know when it's going to end, and farmers are worried. I keep getting a lot of calls, so I don't know if um, I'll use this medium to also appeal that people to come on board for us to help at least support our farmers with simple agro inputs for them to also be motivated and get back to the farm and start planting seriously.
Now, Evans, because you're in agriculture and farming is essential, people need to eat. Are your workers considered essential employees? Are they allowed to go to the fields and work, or do you have restrictions on how many can work at a given time?
Okay, the government has haven't announced a restriction on farming activity, but
Okay.
as a farmer, I have also put it down my layout precautionary measures so that they can work in groups and in separate distances, so that they have the protective clothes that they wear, so that for infection it will not go to them. And then I'm using my social media to campaign to other farmers to do so. And then it's going well as at now. But if given the needed publicity platform and other, I think it can reach more farmers, and then we'll take those measures as it has been laid out.
Okay, so the government hasn't imposed constraints or restrictions on farming, but out of sheer prudence, you've taken steps to protect your workforce and your produce.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent.
Exactly. And I'm even doing extending those services to other farmers like myself, um, within other regions. If I get the opportunity, that is what I've been doing for the past weeks now.
Okay. Now, Peter has a couple other questions here. They're good questions, but I'm not really sure how to frame them. So let me try to frame them and see if you can answer them or not. But he asked, what's the cost of starting an average size farm in Ghana? That's a loaded question, I think, because what is an average size farm? I mean, if we're talking about a small holding, is it 10 hectares? Is it 100 hectares? So that's the first question. And then he asked, would you, Evans, consider sharing the operating cost annually? So you're just trying to have an idea what it costs. I think that Peter it may be a farmer somewhere else in West Africa there. He's trying to compare things.
Okay. So Peter, that's another good question. What I would say is that in Ghana, a smallholder farmer is a holder of two between 2 to 5 acres of land. We call that person a small scale farmer. And then for the cost, maybe if you gave me the crop, then I can give you the cost. But then generally, some of them have to lease the land, and then in Ghana, the owner of the land might give you a figure to pay for a period of 2 years. So you as the farmer, you need to know what am I going to grow between these 2 years for me to get income and even pay for the land that has been leased to me. So an average figure or a standard figure cannot be given, but based on what I've been doing, sometimes I spend roughly 1,500 Ghana to 2,000 Ghana cedi for vegetable production on 2 acres of land.
All right, well, thank you. That's very forthcoming. I appreciate you sharing that, Evan. So while you were discussing that, you can't see this because you're on Skype with me, but I put a photograph of the Toyota Land Cruiser that I was driving in 2000 through Ghana. And in the center on the console is a stack of CD notes. I think it was like 7,500 CD to the dollar then or something like that. So the stack is several inches high. And this was just the cash I had to carry around to pay for petrol just to fill up the truck. That was Ghana then under the old CD, but today it's very different. You have a different currency. It's much more stable. The economy is much stronger than it once was. So how do you feel about Ghana's economy, not just the agricultural sector, but in general?
I believe the agricultural sector, we have done well. We have contributed to transforming our economy as a whole. And then we had a bumper harvest last year. There were enough food for every Ghanaian, and then thanks to the Planting for Food and Jobs and other NGO organizations, they are contributing to transforming the agriculture sector. And once they are doing that, production keeps increasing, and then we keep also increasing the GDP of our country economy. Trust me, when you go online to check Ghana GDP, you see that agriculture has contributed massively to our GDP, and we are still doing it yearly. We are doing our best yearly to help transform our agriculture sector and then the country economy. So it has been impressive so far, but there is more room for improvement. We can do more, I must say.
Well, Evans, I should mention to folks, because I did mention it in the opening when I introduced you, but you are an award-winning farmer as well, aren't you? And can you tell us what award or awards you've won as a farmer?
As a smallholder farmer, when I started, I believe me, there was a short story I should have even put in. I started farming at a very early age with my mom. We used to go to the farm, and then one day my mom told me an interesting story that I should carry her the load. And I said, Mom, I'm too tiny, I can't. And he said, if you can't, then I'm going to leave you on this farm and carry what I can home. And so today my mom today my mom see me, and I tell my mom, even if you have left me on the farm, that is where I belong. I always need to be on the field and feed people, and I'm proud and happy doing it now, and you are even seeing it. So I told my mom that even if she had left me on the farm, she should have come back, seeing me producing and feeding the world, which I am doing now. I won the award through MIT Waki program that they did for entrepreneurs and then those in the agriculture sector. And then together as a group, we came second. And I've also had the opportunity to win some award from other cooperative as a promising youth who is helping the agriculture sector to be transformed. And so I always see myself as The farm is my office. That's where I do my businesses. That's where I operate from. Awards are just encouraging movements for us to do, but I believe that I've not even done enough. There's more room for improvement. Um, we are thinking about feeding Ghana, feeding Africa, and feeding the world. So there's more we can do regarding awards. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your award-winning performances there. That's always encouraging. You know, it's great motivation. So, looking at your biography this morning, it reminded me that once upon a time as a farmer, I too had gotten some awards when I was a young man. So I went to the basement and dug through and found a box. And you're not going to be able to see this, Evans, but I'll send you a photo later. But so I went through and in a bit of shameless self-promotion now, I'm going to hold up a couple of my awards as a kid so that people can see it. These are rosettes from the Perry County Fair from southeastern Ohio when I was in high school. And so this one was for electricity project. This was for streams, for natural environment. This was first best in class for the county. Let's see, this was for water and you, and this was Ohio birds. That one got me an appearance at the state fair. I actually got to go to the Ohio State Fair and do my project there, and I got a little ribbon for that. It's a green one. I'll send you a picture, Evan, so you can see them. And then I got a whole batch of these little ones here. I'm shameless self-promotion. I'm showing them off for all the audience to see now. And so these were for all sorts of things, including rabbits and turkeys and ducks and chickens. I did all these things. My point of showing this is that these were great motivators for me as a young man, you know, to having done well, raise my crops and my things well, to go to the state fair and to show those things off and get recognition for it. So it's always great to see folks get rewarded for their efforts in agriculture. So Evans, let's see what else. You know, a lot of people say that Africa has tremendous agricultural potential. If we look to Ethiopia, it uses only a small fraction of its arable land. Now, many parts of the continent, the environment is fragile. This is true. We looked at the Sahel, which is north of where you're at, and it's a very fragile environment. But if we're good stewards of the environment, we can manage that better. What do you think about Ghana being a major food exporter, say for the region of West Africa or around the world? Do you think that's in the future a possibility?
Agriculture is Africa, and Africa is agriculture. Simply put, we are the future for agriculture, and I'm happy Ghana is contributing massively to the agriculture sector of Africa. Africa need to rise to this occasion and realize that agriculture is the future for Africa. We need to realize that when we empower our youth and smallholder farmers in the agriculture sector, that means we are transforming the whole agriculture value chain. Because I am saying again, we as Africans, we are agriculture, and agriculture is us. And so we need to take hold of this and make sure we transform it, sustain it, give employment, and then produce more for export.
So one of the topics that frequently comes up when we talk about agriculture anywhere in the world these days is the topic of climate change. And I don't really want to get into climate change, but I do want to ask you a specific question related to climate. Climate varies over time and location based on conditions. But my question to you is that in the decade you've been farming, have you noticed any shifts in the climate where you're at from a standpoint of rainfall or seasonal variation? I realize you're close to the equator, so you have pretty much a single season, but are you noticing any effects that are impacting in your farming? Is it better or is it more challenging?
Climate change is a global issue, not only in Ghana, the whole world. It's a global challenge to us, and our weather pattern, rainfall. Most farmers depend on rainfall. It has changed with time. We are not getting enough rainfall as we used to because of climate change. And then what we have adapted is the climate smart agriculture that we are training farmers how to um, be climate resilient and then do more with the climate smart agriculture, because globally we are all faced with climate change, and it's a global issue. So in Ghana, it has affected a bit of our production, but then with the introduction of the climate smart agriculture, which is another initiative that I've been supporting and advocating for to smallholder farmers. We are trying our best so that at least we can adapt to the climate changes that globally we are all affected of.
Okay. Well, let's see. Peter has another question here. Let me sort of a statement, maybe a question. He says maybe Kwame Nkrumah was before his time in regards to construction of the Silos project and hydroelectricity. Obviously, talking about the Akosombo Dam there. What is the current political climate in regards to those infrastructure projects and industrialization? Well, we've talked about infrastructure a little bit. So what is the environment like in Ghana for industrialization these days? Is that something progressing or is it stagnant?
Yeah, industrialization is progressing in Ghana, but most importantly, in the agriculture sector, we have not seen much of those transformation because it comes back to the fact that even irrigational equipment is a bit expensive and other stuff. So it is very we need to do more. We are not there yet, and then it's not being improved to. So like there's more room for improvement. We need to do more so that we can be able to see the transformation occurring in the agriculture sector.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. You can take the boy out of the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the boy. It's been 38 years since I left the farm, and here I am today talking with Evans Larrabee about farming in Ghana. Interesting. So I guess it kind of stays in your blood or it's under your nails or something like that as you go through life. What do you think of that? Do you agree?
Yeah. Come again with the last question. I didn't hear.
No. So you can take a person away from the farm, but once it's in you, it's there always. So it's been 38 years since I was a farmer. That's a long time, but it's still first and foremost in my thoughts.
Trust me. For farming, I don't think I'm going to stop farming anytime soon. It's in my DNA. I want to farm to the end of time. I'm happy feeding people. I'm happy always on the field working. It's my farm. It's my office. It's what I do. It's in my blood. I can't do anything without agriculture or farming.
Well, Evans, those who've been tuning in thus far, and then a lot of people watch the stream after it's already aired because they may be working or busy at the hour that we broadcast at. But for those who watch it now or tune in later, can you let us know a little bit about you've got a website, correct, for the farm, a place where they can go for Be It Farms they can look at. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do have a website for big farms. You can go on there and check the activities that I've been doing. Um, Aside my capacity building training, I have a lot of initiative that I'm running on my website. I do capacity building training for smallholder farmers in Ghana. After every year, I make sure I bring these farmers that have organized capacity building training for them. I make sure I bring them to meet various key players in the agricultural value chain for us to share experiences, have discussion around the challenges that we face as smallholder farmers, and form a consortium, make decisions, and implement them so that we'll be able to improve production, make good income, improve livelihood, and then supply more to other parts of Africa. And so this last year I did a national smallholder farmers summit that saw over 500 farmers from different parts of Ghana coming to meet various key actors in the agricultural value chain. I make sure I bring people in the financial sector, the telecom sector, mechanization sector, processing sector. I make sure I bring academics, people, agricultural economists to meet these farmers and have a dialogue in our local languages and other different languages that the farmers will understand and be able to practice good farming practices that will increase production, that will make them increase income, and then improve livelihood. This year, I'm doing the Africa Smallholder Farmers Summit, which will be for all Africans. Then it's been scheduled because of the COVID-19, but still we will host that event.
Now, where's that event supposed to be taking place when it's rescheduled?
Yeah, it's rescheduled because of the COVID. Uh, all activities to kickstart those. We had a event, a venue, we had everything ready before the outbreak set in, and so it been rescheduled. But then we are hoping that countries open up their borders for flight so that we can able to start, because at this time we need to bring farmers together to know the way forward in terms of food production, because we don't want the world to suffer in terms of food supply or food security. We farmers, we believe we are capable of feeding the world and the increasing population.
But where is the event supposed to be held at? Which country was it supposed to take place?
It is the first of its kind. It's the biggest event in the agriculture sector that will be hosted in Ghana for the
In
first.
Ghana. Okay.
When we are done in Ghana, we are hosting it in, yeah, we are
Okay,
hosting
good.
it in other African countries in Europe and part of the world. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to wrap up here in just a couple of minutes, but before we do, let me just run through a few things that Evans and I have discussed today and see if any other questions come up in the chat while I run through this. So Evans, Larry today and I have talked about small-scale farming and farming in Ghana, West Africa, and Africa in general, and also the impact of the Wuhan coronavirus or COVID-19. We've discussed land tenure, the employment of people on farms, the type of crops that folks are growing, size of labor forces, government support for the farming sector, education, farmers unions, infrastructure. I think we've touched on an awful lot of things that many will find interesting. And so, folks, let's not forget that in the midst of this crisis, those who live in the urban areas or peri-urban areas who are accustomed to being city folk or living in places where they're not close to the earth forget that farming is essential for the survival of mankind. We have to have food. It must be produced. It doesn't simply show up at the supermarket. Yes, it does show up there, but that's the end of a long process. And if we don't have farm workers out on farms, prepping the soil, harvesting, planting, fertilizing, taking care of, and we haven't even talked about animal husbandry, cattle, sheep, goats, all those things, or snails, as Evans raises. I guess that's animal husbandry, snails. But all of that plays a critical role in our food supply. And as I mentioned here in the United States, with potatoes not having been harvested out in the mountain states in Idaho and eastern Washington, we will likely soon see a shortage of French fries here in America, which may sound trivial, but a lot of people get their starches from French fries. So let's not lose sight of that. Same problem applies across Africa, where many farm workers are finding it challenging to find the personal protective equipment, the masks that they need to do the farm work because they're in close proximity of others. And then the challenges of credit and of getting goods to market for farmers like Evans. So with that, Evans, do you have any final thoughts or comments you'd like to give before I wrap up?
Yeah, I will say a very big thank you for giving me this exclusive platform. I believe that agriculture is the way forward now. I believe that Ghana and Africa, we have a way that we can contribute to transforming the world agriculture sector. I'm encouraging other farmers like myself that we should still get a way to get back to our farms and start planting, because we still need to feed the world. People still need to eat. So in this challenge that we are all faced with, and other challenges that we are faced with as farmers, I'm appealing to all farmers to find a way to get back to their farms and start planting, but not forgetting that we need to follow the precautionary measures that have been laid out in Ghana, in other parts of Africa and the world. We should still keep our social distances, wear our face mask like I'm doing, and then wear our protective clothes wherever we find ourselves. Make sure we produce enough to feed the world. I appreciate this time giving, and I hope that the next time we'll come, we'll have more improved news from the agriculture to the world.
Well, Evans, it's been a distinct pleasure having you as my guest today. I'm very grateful that you were able to join us. I think it was a fascinating topic, and it's great to get your insights into farming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And I'll leave an open invitation out there that perhaps
Thank
maybe
you.
a few months down the road, if we get past this chaos and hysteria over COVID-19, hopefully we'll check in on you and get you back on the program and see how you're doing, and hopefully things will go well.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you are always welcome. My website is active, Be It Farms. You can follow me on my social media, and then you can see all the activities that I've been doing. And we hope to look forward and then meeting you guys again. Thank you for the time.
All right, with that, we're going to say goodbye to Evans here in just a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been a production of the Indaba Africa Group. This is Chris once again. I want to thank you all for tuning into our live stream today, as we had our special guest, Evans Larrabee from Ghana, talking to us about small-scale farming and commercial farming in Ghana, West Africa, and the impact of the COVID-19 crisis as farmers attempt to deal with this critically important health issue and economic issue. So once again, folks, I'm really grateful that you've tuned in. This is an important topic, an important discussion. And what I ask is that if you enjoy the content in the stream, please push that button right down there and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to share this channel with your friends, your family, your foes, people you don't like. Share it with them. We'll take anybody as an audience to talk about important topics. Also, we welcome comments. If you have additional questions for Evans or myself, or something you disagreed or agreed with on the program, please feel free to put that in the comment section. I answer all comments that need an answer, and I read all of them for certain. As long as you're not abusive, we listen to your comments. And then finally, I ask that you toggle that little that like button right there. Everyone appreciates likes, and the way that it works with YouTube is the more likes you have as a percentage of views, the more likely it is that they promote the video. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been Indaba Africa with Chris and our special guest today, Evans Larrabee, and we're going to sign off now. Thank you all so much for joining us, and look forward to our next stream. I'll have another one on Saturday next week, but bear in mind that I will also be a guest next Sunday, the 10th of May, I think it is, with Ronaldo Hose on his program in South Africa, talking about expropriation without compensation, the land issue in South Africa. And on Monday, I will also be a debate participant for the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a live web broadcast. You can go to the CSIS website and find out about it. Counterterrorism and Human Rights on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This has been an Indaba Africa production. Have a pleasant weekend.